So you guys, y'all not gonna believe this one. So I was working in community nursing. I was maybe 2 years out of school. And I worked with another nurse and we had a supervisor. We also worked with a few disciplines. And the nurse and I, we were like Alex and Felix. Like she was very disorganized, often behind in her notes. I tend to be more structured and more organized, and she actually liked it that way. So we worked together. We got along. I thought, as usual, I'm always thinking, And so all I know is she used to be 2 weeks behind in her notes. And so we had like let's just call it a group leader. This was like a manager that was over all of the disciplines, and kind of sort of over the nurses, although we had our own supervisor. And so this discipline will always, I mean, this manager would always walk around, you know, after giving us instructions. She would have like papers in our hands of other people's notes because she had to review everybody's notes. And she'd be like, I'm going to have to talk to him about this because this looks like he got this information from somewhere else, and that's fraud. That's you can't do stuff like that. And if Medicaid finds out about that, oh my God, we'll get in trouble. So I didn't pay it any mind because I'm over here doing my nursing stuff, and I'm just not paying it any mind. So this particular nurse, she is about, let's say, about 3 weeks behind on her notes. Always behind. Okay? Just can't pull it together. And so I happened to see this manager go over to her desk one day, and she's speaking out loud because all of our desks were like near each other. It was like in this one big room, So she was like, we got to get these notes in because we're getting ready to do our monthly review, and the state is overseeing stuff. And where is she at? Did she come back yet from the field? And she needs to get these notes done. So this went on for about 2 weeks. And so I noticed something. Certain people, whether they're in a manager position or not, they don't know how to instruct or enforce the rules. So she never wanted to sit her down and talk to her about it. She'd just say things like, did you get your notes done? So this particular nurse, she was always late from coming back from the field. And it was always some excuse when she go, oh, I got stuck in traffic, or, oh, I got to so-and-so's house, and then I had to, help her with the medication, or it was always something disorganized. So we were nearing the beginning of the month. Manager goes over to her desk. She's like, oh, just forget it. Why, you guys, did she sit down at the nurse's desk, which is like right next to my desk, and she started typing her nursing notes? I was like, is she crazy? Does she really think she just has this much authority? Like, all of us are here like, hello, we're watching you, or does she just trust that other people aren't going to say anything? You know what I'm saying? I am a professional. I'm also a mandated reporter. No, everybody knows nobody can write a nursing note but a nurse. So she sits down. She catches her up on all her notes. Now let me take you back a bit so you can understand. Given me and this nurse worked together, this nurse got favoritism. I got the discipline. You see what I'm saying? I went to go drop off something at a patient's house one day. The patient's spouse was there. The spouse had just come out of the hospital or whatever. I was told to drop off this stuff on the way home. He called into the office and he complained that I didn't get out the car and bring it into the house. Now, when I was pulling up, he was coming out towards my car. So, like, he's coming towards the car and he's like, here, do you have the stuff? I'm just going to take it. He's not the patient. A week prior to that, then he called into the office and he was harassing one of our staff members. Staff member complained about it. Nothing got done. So when I got back to the office, this manager she would always come to me and she would have like a casual conversation. I'm just thinking we're talking. She's just asking me some questions and she's like, hey, Audrey, what happened when you went to so-and-so's house? I said, I dropped off the stuff, on my way home, like you told me to. She was like, yeah, her spouse said that you wouldn't bring it into the house. I said, well, when I pulled up, he was on his way to the car and he said he was coming to get it. So I just handed it to him. Oh, well, Audrey, come on now. He just got out the hospital. And I was like, you do realize he's not the patient. And he just called in here like 2 weeks ago and he was, harassing one of our coworkers, and she was like, yeah, but come on, man. He's, his walking is limited or whatever. I just let it go. Why do I go to the bathroom? I come back and on my desk is like, I guess it was supposed to be like some nurse education or something to go in my file. And I just feel like that's very foul because you didn't even tell me that I was being spoken to about a nurse education, but she do stuff like that. The same manager that talks about fraud and abuse and waste, the same manager that talks to me about serving people who are not our patients, she goes and she writes 3 weeks of this nurse's nursing notes and she signs her name. Now we're on paper charts at the time. She puts it in there. When I tell you I took note of that, okay? There were other things going on. I don't want to be long and drawn out. What I'm trying to do is let you know this nurse got favoritism, Audrey got discipline. Let me spin around a minute just to bring the whole full picture in. Remember the supervisor I told you that was over the nurse? Guess what she would do? She would always go out to lunch, like with this nurse. That's crossing a boundary. You know what I'm saying? And so when it came time for the nurse to be disciplined on that end for, once again, not doing her job, guess what she would do? I would be walking past her office on my way, to my desk, getting ready to eat lunch. She'd have small talk with me. Look at that small talk again. She'd have small talk with me. And she said, oh, what'd you get for lunch? I tell her, are you going to eat? No, I'm too busy, on the phone with the insurance, whatever. And so I'd say, okay, well, talk to you soon. And when I would walk right past where she couldn't see me anymore, she'd be like, enjoy your lunch. And then we're going to have a conversation. I right back. I said, excuse me? No, I'd rather have that conversation now. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't appreciate the small talk. You know what I'm saying? You're a manager. You're in a position, you're my supervisor, where you could just literally tell me, Audrey, when you get done eating, I need to speak to you. Can you come and see me in my office? Like, be straight up about it. You know what I'm saying? So I go into the office, she sits me down, and guess what she says, y'all? Because we had a doctor over, a doctor pretty much has to oversee like any facility. Had a doctor over us, and he was her supervisor. Here she go, sit me down. Well, Dr. So-and-so wants me to write you up because you didn't give the medication to so-and-so the other day. I said, could you excuse me? I would get up and I would go. I would come back with the calendar, okay? And I'd say, that was Sloppy Susie's day to give the medication. Yeah, that wasn't my day. And she'd just sit there with her. Couldn't even apologize, nothing. Chin hanging down. So you was really thought that as a grown woman, I was just going to allow you to write me up for what Sloppy Susie did? Because you done crossed professional personal boundaries by going out to lunch with her, and now you can't, is it just dumb written across my forehead? Does it say stupid? Does it say she doesn't know anything? Does it say her degree is fake? What is this? What grown adult is gonna allow you to write them up or take the fall for somebody else? Why would you even try that? I should be reporting you. So anyway, let's wrap back around to these notes, okay? I got sick of all of that office stuff. I got sick of it. And I would tell y'all some other stuff, but I ain't even gonna go there. You know what I'm saying? But the facility alone, they started to micromanage. People got sick of that. So I went and I said, oh, she's writing her notes. I'm gonna have to report this. Mandated reporter. You know what I mean? So I went and I copied everything. Every single note she wrote. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It's not your handwriting. I'm a witness. I submitted it. And all I could say is messy manager, it was no longer in that position. Now, I'm not saying she got terminated, but what they offered her, was a demotion, and she didn't accept it. Yeah, she didn't accept it. You know what I'm saying? And as far as the nurse, because I reported it to the director, like the CEO and everybody at corporate, and they had a talk where, and they was like, you can't do for one and not do for the other. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be over here giving Audra, verbals. You know what I'm saying? And then now you're over here fraudulently writing notes for Sloppy Susie. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, she left. She left, y'all. She didn't take the demotion, but yeah, they demoted her. So that was that. And then, of course, probably have to be a whole nother video. Maybe a month after that, why did the big person, like the CEO or whatever, they tried to call me in the office one day, and it was my supervisor, the CEO, and it was a new manager that had took the old manager's position. They called me in and tried to claim I was behind on notes. And we had already complained that the computers was messed up. They basically tried to interrogate me. They tried to do like a pit review. And it was an epic fail. I gave them a verbal 2 weeks notice. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, and guess what they tried to do the pit review on? They was pulling the old verbals that my supervisor had given me and trying to you know what I'm saying, charge me with. I was like, do you realize that it's illegal? You can't recharge me for what she already gave me a verbal about. You know what I'm saying? I ain't had but like maybe 2 in there. Very early on, she had to remind me of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I accepted the verbal as a re-education, But the manager, she said to me, she said, oh, my boss, she said, Audrey, I don't have anything to do with this. She said, they just came in my office and they asked to see your file. I was like, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? And I just, kept checking them accordingly. I was like, now what is this about? And, oh, your notes are weak. I said, we just had a meeting and several disciplines complained that the computers keep eating our notes. Like something's wrong with the computer. Like you need to call IT. So the manager was over there. I was like, pull up my notes. I said, I just submitted a complaint to you the other day that something's wrong with the computer. I was like, why is he fumbling? Why is he taking so long? I was like, pull up my note. He was all nervous. Couldn't even pull up the note. Then she tried, like I said, she tried to go for the verbal stuff. That was an epic fail, And then I just got tired of her. And I was like, you know what? You're the CEO, but when we're in meeting, you're online like this the whole time on your phone while the rest of us are engaged in a meeting, and you're online trying to see if you can meet a doctor. Like, I ain't even gonna say if you would have seen her, honey, ain't no doctor gonna want her. So I shut that whole meeting down, put in my 2 weeks notice, and guess what happened, y'all? Because I was so mad because the way they did things, that was foul. Interrogated. Now I know better, that I have a right to ask for whatever they want to speak to me about in writing and give me a few days to review it and get back to them. I don't have to go into any meeting unannounced because they always set you up. They already know what they're going to do. So I didn't even know they really was trying to do a pit review until after I quit. I looked at the paperwork because I did an exit review on them, and an exit interview. And when I looked at the paperwork, I was like, what? They was trying to follow me, trying to shadow me in the field. They was trying to set me up, retaliation, to get me fired because I put in a complaint. And that's just sad. You know what I'm saying? Jobs teach you all these policies, And then when you follow the policy and put in a complaint, how the heck you gonna want to fire me because I complained that the daggone manager is illegally writing the nurse's note? They made the nurse write all those notes over again too, as she should. You know what I'm saying? But finally, I called to basically say to the top person. It was like a director of the facility, and I called to express my concerns with the way they treated me to her, and I was trying to tell her I was going to call out. I just needed like a day just to, she was like, Audra, she said, you already put in your 2 weeks notice. She said, just do this. She said, you don't even have to come back to work. She said, and we'll pay you. So they paid me for them 2 weeks, but they also wanted me out of there. You got to peep the subliminal. They wanted me out of there because, I'm uncovering, stuff that they should not be doing according to the law. So they paid me for them 2 weeks. When I look back on things like that in retrospect, just imagine how much I could have sued them for, because I had them by the balls. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I left out. So anyway, that's just another uncut raw version of what goes on behind the scenes in nursing. Yeah, they foul. Y'all have a good one, y'all. Bye.